Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cubed 2023 with our final panel of day one in the books. Here we have Crimpy Wheel and Spyro Girl here to talk about filmmaking in Minecraft. Take it away, guys.
Hey, hello everyone. Welcome. We have very interesting topic today. Filmmaking in Minecraft.
Something very close to our hearts.
Yeah, something I do too much. Are we able to pull up the slideshow?
Slideshow.
Perfect. So yeah, filming Minecraft. This is something we do quite a lot. I have a full kind of YouTube channel surrounding it. Could we go to next slide, please?
Next
I
slide.
don't know if I was streamed away or not.
Uh,
All right, there you go. So, from most of these videos, I am obviously the director, writer, editor, voice actor, and a lot more that comes with it. And
so I am often the co-director. I help write. We both voice act, and so I also help with video development. So any plugins that need to be edited or any things that need to be written in the code of Minecraft to help our videos really come to life, that's what I do on the side as well.
so we'll pretty much kind of be discussing today how you're able to do your own filmmaking in Minecraft and kind of all the elements that come with it. But before we kind of do that, we do want to quickly show a little video to show kind of why we're qualified to be talking about this. So are we able to show the first video?
Because if you keep going on this path, you will end life as we know it.
Please, sir, my brother. You don't understand how much he means to me.
Dr. Jones, again we see there is nothing that you can possess which I cannot take away.
Who took your wallet?
The Demon King.
We had to flee our city and move somewhere else due to the monster.
All right, awesome.
Yeah. So that was our compilation. But yeah.
So, we've been doing this for quite a while now. We've been doing this for almost 4 years now. Am I right about that? It's been almost 4 years.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So a lot of that of what you see is actually using a mod called Replay Mod. So could we go to the next slide? I'm gonna briefly kind of discuss how it works, but if you really want a more detailed explanation, there's definitely a lot of YouTube tutorials out there. Just so you, I just kind of want to show something to kind of explain how it works. Well, actually, that'll be sorry. One more slide. So it's definitely Replay Mod is kind of hard to get around. Oh, do we not have gifts working? Okay, then I'll kind of briefly explain. So how Replay Mod works is pretty much, you get into a either a multiplayer server or your own single player server, and you kind of go into your own game menu settings, and you click start recording, and you can kind of do whatever. Obviously, there's some restrictions to this, but pretty much start recording, do whatever you want, stop it, and you can go back. You kind of keyframe all like the camera movements and stuff. So after that, you can obviously render it. It doesn't render with sound though. That is kind of one main issue with it. But yeah, that's kind of roughly how to use it. Sorry, we don't have any actually GIFs to show. It is there. I guess could we go next slide? I know we have to skip a few. Because
If the gifts are not working.
yeah.
All good. We can explain. Yeah, a lot of long story short, these pretty much had tutorials inside them. It just showed you how
right
it would
here.
work in game.
So yeah, some of our some things you can use Replay Mod for is obviously some PvP montages. I know that's very popular with it. Obviously, what we do a lot of cinematic stories or kind of like movies. There's also building time lapses that you can use with it, and just overall kind of extra footage for your own kind of videos. Either that be like long landscape shots or whatever. So next slide, please.
Yeah, so now that you have your camera, you now have to do everything else a normal production would actually get into. So if you would head to our next slide, so the main things, of course, is you got to make your script. But what really matters when it comes to Minecraft filmmaking is you got to have your actors. So I know some people have groups of friends. We have a lot of people who help volunteer for our work. Skin design is massive. We often do sketches of our characters before we make skins to make sure we have our design down. Character movement is massive because, you know, that's how you bring your characters to life. And we also have voice acting, which is super important. And we're going to go a little bit into that moving forward. So next slide. So one thing about character movement is that we've learned over the years, we've been doing this, is that sometimes just moving your head is simply not enough if you continue to just keep a simple head movement to represent talking. A lot of it is learning how to almost embody yourself into your Minecraft avatar. So simple head gestures, the way you turn your body, understanding how, you know, if you hit, it centers your body, stuff like that is really important to know. And we tell people who are doing our stand-ins how that functions as a whole. But another way you can add movement to your characters, which is something that Crippy recently discovered. So if you head to the next slide, I know it probably won't show, but feel free to check it out later in his videos. So he uses Minimator to essentially add animations to the characters. So that means extra arm movement, extra head movement, stuff that really just adds things to your scene. Definitely is a step above, and we are not experts at it just yet, even though he learned it pretty fast. But it's definitely a way to help bring your scenes to life more than just simple head movement and just simple gestures with your fist in game. So if we go to the next slide, so this is where we have our voice acting. So we have one of our voice actors. This is the Robo video, if you can play that real quick. So voice acting is super important.
I've been watching you long enough to know what drives you. You want power. You want people to be afraid of you. You want to be the ruler of the world. And what you may not accept is that you don't want people to hurt you.
So that's one of our voice actors. And the thing about it is, since we lack a lot of things like facial expressions, we really have to build up our voice acting skills to help bring a scene to life in that sense. So voice acting is super important to practice. I'm pretty sure there's a panel on that later during the con, so they probably have some pointers on that as well. But we are here for the sets and the actual filming of it. So if we go to the next slide, same as real life, there's a couple of different sets you can have. So of course there's on location. So we shoot a lot of our videos in our SMPs. So a lot of our SMPs have a lot of cool buildings, a lot of cool sets and environments we can use. So shooting them in your multiplayer worlds really helps you with not having to worry about certain scenes. Green screen is something we use a lot too for certain aspects. You'll see that in some of the videos that we've made that pretty much Crippy spends endless hours trying to get it out of the scene to have this really cool effect. And of course, there's also facades. So if we have a scene that has a lot of different, like really small scenes, but we don't want to build the whole exterior, we make a bunch of facades. So in that little picture, you can see we have a bunch of different facades that on the inside, one's a throne room, one's a little cut out of a wall, the other one's a really simple building. So it helps make filming easier because we just need these little snippets and we don't really need anything on the outside. But these are all important. So next slide, please. So sadly, our GIF is probably not going to load. Again, we'll probably release this later. But this is pretty much showing off a bunch of our sets. As you saw in the video, you saw probably a massive library. You probably saw all of our Mario sets. And you also probably saw our finale set, which has this massive castle and this big ravine. So again, sometimes the scale of a set can really add to your scene. And we also have to know that some of these sets took hours to build. The library that you see, feel free to check out the video that has it. Dewa Dewa is where it has it. So it's this massive library where you retrofit at the end. So sometimes those sets, you just have to prep for them. But again, facades are also something you can use to help make that easy. But resource packs also are really important. It's how we do some things, like how in the couple slides forward, we're going to show off how we use models. So in the next slide, we have a little clip of how we use green screen. Hopefully that one will at least show the first frame. Yes, okay. So pretty much for this scene, we needed this boat to travel across all these different areas. And so rather than just shooting it the exact same way, we put the boat on a green screen and retrofitted all the different scenes as it travels across each scene. So green screen can be really important if you have to move something across a massive amount, or can be used to make some specific camera shots, which Kirby will talk about a little bit later. But yeah, so our next slide, models is something we use a lot in these videos. So hats are like one of the main things. So of course we have the Indiana Jones hat. In our Mario video, we had a Princess Peach hat that we made. We had a few other hats made for that video as well as items. So we have the Indiana Jones whip. We have the gun used. We have a few others in the Mario video as well. And scenery, the way you detail your scenery. So if you have some skilled detail builders out there, they're your friends with making these really cool detailed sets. It's super cool, and I highly recommend you take time to put those details into your scene. Even if it's a few leaves, an extra candle somewhere, something so simple can actually just elevate the complexity of your scene without making it too cluttery to the eyes. But yeah, go ahead, next slide. So the way we do filmmaking is we often don't film with any of the audio. So we do all of our character movement first, and we often film our voice acting separate. So our film rules still apply. So as we said, we're both directors. Oftentimes we'll be in a call with about like 6 people. We're like, all right, everybody, here's your movement. We'll like block it out like a scene would be blocked out in real life. And oftentimes there is no actual camera in the scene. So because replay mod, you do the keyframing after you're filming, the camera can be wherever. So your actors can do whatever in any way, and the camera will follow them. So these can be 2 independent people walking in on a scene, and the camera can follow both people after the fact. So that's the really cool thing about Minecraft filmmaking. You film the scene as a whole and worry about the camera later, rather than figuring out where to put the camera and then film. So that's the really cool thing about filmmaking in Minecraft, is there's so much freedom to it. And so that's why we really love it. But that's not the only part we really love about it. It's actually the process of actually bringing this footage to life. So if you want to go to the next slide.
Right. Also, kind of add on really quickly with the filming with no sound. With replay mod, you actually don't get the Minecraft audio from it. It actually only gives you the visuals. So something I personally have to do is when going through my replay mod recordings, I have to get OBS up and I have to record and make sure I get all that sound I want. So that is one small issue with replay mod, but there are ways to get around it. So yes, it is now time to bring this footage to life. So if we could go to the next slide, I'm gonna be talking about lighting. So in real life, lighting works a little, from Minecraft to real life, it's a little different. Obviously, in real life, there are 3 different ways, or at least 3 different main ways you can light a scene. So the key light is always going to be your main lighting in movies. You usually always have a key light. This is like the main light that will shine on your subject so that it is somewhat visible. What a fill light does, though, is it fills in the shadows on a person's face. As we see in the slideshow, it's not fully up, but it's still technically there. So it kind of makes it so the full face is more clearer. So this is kind of used when we're talking about less dramatic movies. We just want to very easily see our subject. And backlighting it kind of helps remove your subject from the background. It helps it stand out. It actually also adds some light to the hair. So, that's kind of easier to see. If we go to the next slide, it's a little more different in Minecraft. So here's kind of examples. I use the sun as my lighting, but there's also light blocks you can kind of use as a good source of lighting your shots. So, as you can see, between kind of key light and fill light, they are very subtle. It's mostly kind of on the body that you can see the difference of light. So my body's more kind of lit up and more visible. Backlight obviously still kind of removes your subject from the background, but when you are kind of lighting scenes for your own videos, you really only have to make sure your whole set is lit up, and like wherever your character can go, it can still be visible. So very much in Minecraft, it's not necessarily as important, which is kind of nice. Could we go to the next slide? I know we got a GIF here. It's not going to work, which is all right. But I do want to talk about some other things that you can use to kind of improve your shots. So shaders are definitely a very, very big thing and is my personal best friend. It makes Minecraft look so much better. And obviously, there's a lot of different types. The main ones I like using are Cilders, BSL, and Complementary. Cilders very much has that more cinematic type feeling to it. It's very intense. You see those sun rays. It's obviously very cool. BSL is definitely not as my favorite. I think there's definitely uses for it. Like in my own videos, I sometimes shoot videos in the end, and BSL gives this like foggy type look to the end, which I really like.
It's great for horror.
Oh, definitely. And Complementary, this one's the most customizable, but also the one that I feel still mostly retains the overall look for Minecraft. And so it's very easy, like changing colors. You can still try to get your sun rays if you really, really try. But it is just overall kind of the best choice. And then also in editing, I do kind of mess with the colors too. So learning kind of how to do color grading and editing can really help your shot out and make it more beautiful. Like in our intro video, you saw a lot of very colorful lighting or very, very bright lighting. That was with me. I believe every shot in there, I did color grade a little bit or a lot. You can obviously kind of tell the difference, but it does make your overall scene kind of cooler. Could we go to next slide, please? And I'm going to talk about one really cool thing about using your replay mod camera. So obviously, there's no GIF, but kind of something you can do with the replay mod camera is actually tilt it. So this is what kind of stands out one of the big factors actually stems up from just normal screen recording to actually using replay mod. So you can fully rotate your camera, 360, whatever. You can pretty much get any angle you want. And with this, you can very easily recreate shots from actual movies. I know, for example, something we have done in the past is we decided to recreate kind of the intro to Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, and we are pretty closely able to kind of recreate those scenes. You kind of already saw some of the indie stuff. Hopefully you'll see more of it later if the GIFs work, but we'll kind of see. But yeah, it's a very cool feature. Now let's go to something. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, we'll post all these GIFs. You'll get to see them later. I promise you'll get to see it eventually if you're interested. A lot of these are some really cool custom GIFs. But yeah, we'll let everyone get to see it later.
So another feature that kind of sucks. This is kind of where real life wins a little bit. Could we go to next slide and maybe I'll slow it? But there's something called the FOV slider. So if you're in game right now, if you go to your pause menu, you click options, you'll see at the top left you have an FOV slider. So obviously this is kind of your field of view. This is how far you can see or how close you can see. This is pretty much your zoom. This is your Minecraft equivalent of a zoom. Now, obviously, the good part of this is we have a zoom. It does actually change the shot. There is a difference between moving closer or zooming in closer to a subject. It does make a very massive difference. But the thing is, you can't actually change the FOV. So you can't do a slow zoom in. You can only do a slow push in. So that part of it, it kind of sucks. But you that's what you got to work with.
We work with what we got. We got to improvise, and Minecraft shots have to be unique, and that's where we have the different kinds of zooms we can do, which is onto his favorite kind of zoom.
My favorite kind of zoom. Next slide, please. I love this is my favorite type of shot in just any media. Dolly zoom. Okay, you at least can see it. If anyone's seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you know what that second one is. So what a dolly zoom is. Favorite shot. So the camera is pretty much on a track. And what the camera will do is it can either do two things. The camera will push into the subject while you zoom out with the camera. Or the camera will pull away from the subject while you zoom into your subject. This gives a very funny kind of like... it's very hard to explain. I definitely look it up yourself, but... how would you explain it, Sparrow? I don't know how to explain it.
So the background gets wider, so you see more of the background as you zoom in and get closer to the person's face. So you have this really cool effect where it feels like your actor is almost popping from the screen because it feels like the background shrinking and you're getting closer. So it really just focuses in on your subject for really dramatic moments. It really like highlights that character and be like, oh, so for example, these two scenes, one of them is Jaws, if I'm correct. When he realizes there's something wrong. And the other one, of course, is in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, when he realizes what Ego did to his mom. So both of them are really dramatic, like shocking moments is really what they're used for. Yeah.
So I wanted to bring us into Minecraft. That was my overall goal. If we go to next slide, I kind of did it, because we can't obviously actively zoom in Minecraft. But what we can do is we can separate our subject from the background. So what I pretty much do is I obviously record on my background. I was like, okay, this is the back of the subject. Now I get a green screen and I put myself in there and I record, whatever, like me staring into the camera. I put those two together. The camera slowly zooms in on my face, and in editing, I make the background kind of get bigger. So that kind of gives this effect of a dolly zoom, of like an out of, a very dramatic moment, as Farrell explained it. So we can...
These two dolly zooms are present. So the first one is present in Daywit episode 1, and the other one is present in his most recent video. So his two favorite shots in those two videos, obviously. But yeah, well, not my favorite shots. My favorite shots are earlier. But anyways.
It's my favorite shots. I live for my dolly zooms. But it's obviously a very cool effect. It does take some time to kind of get used to it, but it is very fun. We can go on to next slide. Actually, I think we have to skip this next one.
Yeah, because
But
you
the one
explain
after.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one more. Yeah, so these have little tutorials in them, so promise we'll post it later. Okay, so another big thing, and this is where sort of my knowledge of some Minecraft coding comes in, is the special effects. So in the indie video, there were a lot of special effects. So we had to create a lot of different things for that video. So one of the main things is like the boulder, the doors that have to close, the spikes, the explosions. So all of these can be created using command blocks, using your particle commands, using your execute at, using all of these different chains of command blocks to create these really cool effects, as well as your modeling that you have in. And Create Mod is actually one I highly recommend. It works great with Replay Mod, and it allows you to create some really cool moving items. If you guys never have heard of it, mess around with it. It's super fun. You can create moving doors, trains, contraptions. It's great for needing anything like you wouldn't see in a normal Minecraft video. You can slip it in there and hide it in plain sight. And people will often just think it's some really cool model, but in fact, you're working with a really cool mod to create this almost dynamic scene. It's super cool. But yeah, so if we go like to the next one, we have gifts of these, or you can check it out in the indie video in these next 3 slides. So we have the closing doors. So when Indy has to go under the doors as the temple is collapsing. And then on the next slide, we have the idol swapping, which was achieved with a hidden armor stand and a specialized block placement, a block pressure plate with Create Mod, and a bunch of arrows. As he steps over them, it shoots across, and a bunch of explosions happen. And then finally, we have our boulder chase. So this one was actually done using a track in Create Mod, and we created a spinning boulder. One of our members of our team, Marbles, actually created this one. So he created a spinning boulder that would chase after Crimpiana Jones, or Crimpiana Wheel. Yeah, we'll go with Crimpiana Wheel, as he goes along this track. But yeah, so next slide.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things needed that, especially a lot of command blocks are needed. Oh my gosh, I
yeah.
can't figure that stuff out. Oh. But
Yeah.
anyways, we're gonna get more the filming things. If we got any film nerds out there, don't worry
Any
about this
film
too
nerds?
much. Film nerds,
Okay.
as myself. Good. It's film's awesome. But we're gonna go over a few of these. I'm gonna go over some of them briefly. Definitely overall, learn actual real life filming techniques. They do apply to Minecraft, or at least most of them do. I can't promise all of them do. But there are a lot of cool filming techniques that you can apply when using Replay Mod. One of the big ones is rule of thirds. So if you see Chris Pratt right there, that is the use of rule of thirds. So it's kind of this grid that is over, it's in real life, it's over your viewfinder when you're taking shots. So what the rule of thirds basically does is it helps you frame your shot. It's very, very helpful for early filmmakers. So for example, you want kind of your subject within the intersections, or you want them across one of the lines. For horizons, you want that above the top line. There's a lot of things with rule of thirds, but pretty much you want those intersections to line up with your subject. That really, really helps with rule of thirds. I found a mod for Replay Mod. I believe it's called Creator Overlays, which you can actually have a rule of thirds thing over your Replay Mod while you're trying to, keyframe your shots. So it's very helpful tool. Golden ratio is very similar. As you see, it's the bottom image. It basically does the same thing. It's kind of definitely more used for, I guess, landscape shots. I don't necessarily use it as much, but if you do kind of want to research more into that, that is also a really good tool. We're gonna skip over close, medium, wide, because I'll talk about it in a second. But something that I find a lot of early filmmakers don't necessarily do. Oh, could we go back to that previous slide? Please, thank you. What a lot of early filmmakers kind of do is one more slide back, please. Is they get a shot of the subject, but they get one. They get one single shot of the subject, which Is fine, but as a filmmaker, you definitely want to overfilm. This is when you're in the editing room, you have a lot of different angles to work with. So let's say I'm up here on stage and I want to get multiple angles of me. Maybe I'll get one from behind looking off of the audience, or I'll get a nice close up of my face. Maybe I'll get some close ups of the audience. Maybe a close up of my hands, maybe because I'm holding a book in my hand. Maybe I'll get a close up on that. You just definitely want to get as many different angles of your subject as possible. So when you do come into the editing room, it is so much easier.
He often has like 50 shots after done keyframing, and maybe uses almost all of them, like if not all of them, essentially over
Yeah.
filming, so you have so much to work with in the editing room, because then you don't have to reshoot anything, because that's why he often has to reshoot, so that's why he's getting more used to using
Oh, yeah.
more shots. So
It is very tedious, but it is very, very worth it in the end. Trust me. You will thank me. Okay? Don't come to me crying saying, "Oh no, I forgot to get enough shots." Oh well. Go get them now. This is your warning. Um Another good technique is symmetry. So if we see our top left image, the good image of Saul Goodman, symmetry is very easy. It's kind of sometimes nice to have symmetry in your shots, and kind of thinking about how you can have this nice symmetry. I know Wes Anderson does a lot of symmetry. If you've ever heard his movies, very good examples of symmetry. So definitely, kind of, get some fun shots in there. Trying to incorporate that, whatever. POV shots is also actually extremely doable with replay mod. Pretty much when you're in replay mod, you can go to any Minecraft player and you're able to right click them and get their own POV doing, whatever. It even shows like their hand, I believe. So it is a very easy way to get different players' POVs when trying to, create your own video. And then obviously, learn editing. It really helps, especially like learning the right pacing. How long you should be on a certain shot. If you're over 10 seconds, it's probably too long. Obviously, also shot selection. This will kind of go with our close, medium, wide when we'll get there. But yeah, so kind of learn editing. Editing is a very, very good tool.
have another set of eyes on your project, because
That too.
oftentimes you'll miss things, or you'll think you have a really nice shot and then you have someone else watching it, and they'll be like, why do you have this shot here? It goes on for too long, or the energy drops in a scene. Always have someone who is either working on the project very close with you, or someone who has never seen the project before look at it and give like an honest opinion of whether you need to edit or shot or not. Always be okay with those criticisms, because sometimes the shot's too long, or the shot's not enough. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right, we can go to next slide now. Obviously, the GIF doesn't work here, but close, medium, and wide sequences. So, you don't always have to have this, but it is good to have within your videos to have close, medium, and wide sequences. What I mean by this is a close-up. Everyone probably knows what a close-up looks like. That'd be a close-up on a face, close-up on a hand. There's different types of close-ups, but close-ups. Medium shots are usually kind of waist up of a subject. There's also full shot that's it's sometimes counted as medium, which you actually have the full body, but I don't necessarily count it. I think that's where it kind of gets to wide shot, where you see your subject and a lot more of your surrounding. So when you are in editing, you want to, let's say, this actually example was Indiana Wheel, whatever, taking the idol and replacing it with the bag of sand. So in the shot, there's a lot of different camera angles that are used. So you got a close up of like the bag of sand, and he's gonna replace it. You got a nice medium shot of his face in the idol, so you can see kind of what action is happening, and you get a wide sequence to see, okay, this is the environment this is happening in. You'll see this a lot, mostly with actually, if you watch the news and they make their own stories, you see that a lot there. But it is also appears in film when a certain subject is doing, something particular. But it's always kind of good to follow these sequences. It will make your videos 10 times better. We can go to next slide. This will be kind of hard to explain without a GIF. So I'll explain it in Minecraft. So,
yeah, all right.
So let's say here we got the cube camera over here. That is our camera. Now, if let's say me and Spyro are having a talk right now. We're talking to each other. We're like, okay, blah 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 blah. Now the camera could get in. It could get in close in right here on this side, or get a close up of me on this side, following kind of within this line. Now, if the camera was gonna go on this side and get that shot from this angle, that's not good. That breaks what we call the 180 rule. This is pretty much mean there is an imaginary line between your two subjects. This is mostly kind of when someone's having a dialogue, but there's also other examples. It's pretty much you want to stay on one side of the line, like the camera. So the camera can go anywhere between this line. You can go anywhere here and get a different shot. But if it's behind here, that's when it's wrong. So you got to stay on one side, and this makes it so the audience isn't confused. Because if they suddenly see me, talking this way, but then they also see Sparrow also talking this way, but just from a different side, it can be extremely confusing for the viewer. So it's always best to try to keep that 180 line as best as you can. I have been using it for so long. It is definitely made better. Just try your best. I beg you. We can go to the next slide now.
Yeah, we can head back to the slideshow. Thank you so much, Cam.
Bye, CubeCam.
All right, we can skip past the 180 rule stuff onto, I think, common mistakes is next. Yeah, so there are a lot of common mistakes. Kirby knows a lot of them, so why don't you start?
Oh, yes. All right, let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about the biggest mistake I have ever had with Replay Mod. And that is with mods. We love mods. They add a lot of different stuff into the game that you can't necessarily expect with vanilla Minecraft. The problem with using mods is some of them are not actually compatible with Replay Mod. Pretty much, I'm gonna give an example here. We were making a short Pixelmon series, using the Pixelmon mod, which is pretty much brings Pokemon into the game of Minecraft. Now this is cool. It was a very cool idea. And I did some light testing. I kind of walked around, spawned some Pokemon. Didn't necessarily battle with them, but I walked around, like tested Replay Mod. I went to my Replay Mod viewer. Oh, okay, Replay Mod is not crashing. That is a good thing. It's like, all right, guys, let's do this 2-hour recording now. We got this. We're all good here. So we get in the recording, and we do a shot. I get my Replay Mod going. It goes through all of it. I'm like, all right, perfect. We're all good. Thank you guys for helping me out. I'm gonna go to the editing room now. So I go through. I look at my footage. The first 20 minutes is fine, but I noticed something weird. Whenever you get into a Pokemon battle, Replay Mod crashes. It just completely crashes. I'm like, huh. I can skip past the battles. Like, okay, I guess that's fine. Later on the footage, Replay Mod just completely breaks. You can't go past a certain point. It just doesn't work. And it's not like I can get, the 5 other people helping with it. Like, all right, guys, we gotta reshoot this video. No, I gotta make it work. So pretty much what I ended up doing was going through different settings in the video and actually just kind of reshooting some footage on my own. So, moral of the story, please check that when you use mods that they work with Replay Mod. Check everything. Spend an hour. Spend 2 hours. I don't care. Just make sure it works. Because when you are with 20 or 10, however many people you do it with, and it fails, they're not going to want to do it again. You're going to have to find new people because they most likely won't want to do it again. Trust me, I have asked. They don't. They really, really do not. I try. So definitely do testing. Mods are still, at the end of the day, very good. They've helped me do a lot more things outside of the box. And I definitely add some sort of creative aspect to it, but it is,
Be careful.
Be careful, please.
Yeah.
Again, don't come crying to me. I'm just like, well, you should have listened to my first warning.
And make sure your servers can handle those mods.
Definitely.
In the India video, we used a plain add-on for Create. So physics in Minecraft often don't love each other. So trying to fly the plane was one of the hardest things to shoot because about an hour was spent trying to get the plane in the scene long enough without causing it to fly off into the void, and we had to clear some files to make sure the plane didn't crash. But yeah, next slide.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think we've had a rant about mods. Oh my gosh, the
yeah.
flashbacks. Oh.
Too much. So one of the things about replay mod is in this shot, you can actually see it if you go back to the original video because it's still there. So there is a shot where if you don't actually move and like just move right before you record, move right as you start. So the replay mod actually doesn't know where your character is by the start. So it'll actually just cause a glitch effect. So it'll cause your character to zoom back or to zoom into place. So you want to always move before your shots, because otherwise you're going to see some glitching effect, and you don't want to have that happen when you just finished a shot with this shot. I think had 15 people.
Oh, that's not 15 people.
Had a lot of people, and we did not have the ability to reshoot. So pay attention to that in the future. But yeah, so next slide.
Yeah, I mean, it usually only happens when there's like a lot of people or a lot of entities. Just kind of leave a little bit of a buffer zone there. All right, a oneer. This is the biggest mistake I have seen when people are using replay mod. So to kind of tell you what a oneer is pretty much when a camera doesn't cut for a long time. So it's like the camera moves throughout your scene and through different characters. And it's obviously going to be very cool, very impressive in real life, because sets aren't usually, that big. And when someone does a oneer, it is very, very impressive. Now, Minecraft obviously sets, we don't really have limitations to that. Yes, there are limitations, but there aren't big ones. So a lot of people do oneers, which is fine. But they do a lot of bad oneers. So the most time I've seen bad oneers are during kind of PvP type shots, where the camera will kind of zoom through all the PvP and focus on a character, then they'll zoom out and they'll go to a different subject and it'll just get all these angles in one shot. Now, this is very you're gonna make your audience sick. It is a lot of motion and it's very, very fast. And it's also a little jarring because replay mod is very weird on how it does keyframes. From getting to one point, it can go, let's say it goes 5 miles per hour. But to another point, it could go 20. It can very change, and it's kind of learning how to keyframe that so it doesn't do that. So if someone has enough practice using replay mod, a lot of, I would say, years of experience, a oneer can definitely happen. You just got to be extremely careful with it. Extremely. Don't let it happen for too long. Replay mod does not like long sequences. Trust me. We can go to the next slide.
Speaking of long sequences, so who here has the render distance down low because their computer struggles sometimes? Most people. I believe most people have it this low, but when you're filming and you're trying to do a zoom out shot, the chunks will just start like loading and deloading. And so you have this really weird slowly cubed effect coming backwards. This is another shot you can view of one of Crimpy's old videos where he did not learn this yet. So trying to do a landscape shot with really low render distance just ruins your shot. So right before you render, you can turn up your render distance and then render the shot. So you don't risk this effect. Next slide.
Pretty much the camera focuses on where your character is. So wherever you want the main subject to be, have yourself there when you're recording. This one I'm going to cover briefly because I want to leave time for questions. Don't film on single player servers. They are very glitchy, and especially with shaders, you'll have water glitching, you'll have leaves glitching, you'll have grass glitching. There'll be a lot of glitching. Pretty much, even if it's an Antonov server. Film on multiplayer servers. It is 100% smoother. We can go to the next slide. I think there is nothing there. Just do not film on single player servers. Quite very simple.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna very briefly talk about, overall, this is a very good creative outlet. It is a very cheap cheap. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word.
Cheap
alternative. There we go. Cheap alternative versus kind of, getting your own film camera. I mean, obviously you have your phones, you can kind of film it in real life, but there's a lot more opportunities when it comes to Minecraft, and it's also gonna be very independent. In real life, you gotta have a full film crew. Maybe you need a green screen. Maybe you need someone who's really good at editing, someone who can do CGI. You know, you gotta worry about sound effects, lighting. You know, I don't know how cameras still work. You know, there's all that weird stuff. So Minecraft is much simpler. I think it's a very good place, and there's a lot more you can do with it. Where, you know, to kind of do some of this stuff, you know, in real life, it requires a massive budget. So here in Minecraft, you know, it's a
We
lot
work for
nicer.
free.
Well, not. I mean, you gotta buy the game. As soon as you,
Well,
don't steal Minecraft. Buy the game. You know, get a solid version of Minecraft. Not Bedrock, because I don't believe replay mod applies for Bedrock. By the way, I don't know. I keep forgetting Bedrock's the thing. This is
users.
very. I'm sorry if I upset anyone right now. But please invest in Java. There's a lot better options. Anyways, we can move to the next slide.
So if you want to watch any of these videos, I think we'll post. I'm not sure if we can post it in the actual convention Discord, but it will definitely be up in Crimpy's Discord if you ask him personally for the video, so you can see all these GIFs we made. Or you can go and check out his YouTube channel, where we have all of our videos, all of the cinematics we do. Please check it out. There's some really awesome stuff, and that has months of effort gone into it. But yeah.
And you can also, if you wish to, you can DM me. We're gonna have questions here in a second, but if you have, you know, really big questions, or you need help with something, or you want to link to the slideshow, you can DM me on Discord at crimpy_wheel. I'll kind of respond to anyone. But we can go to the next slide, and we can take questions now. I think we're good with questions. So
yeah, we got some 10 minutes for questions.
we got a few minutes for questions here, because I know we covered a lot. I'm sorry we didn't get gifts working, so it might be a little bit confusing. I'll be reading both from Twitch chat and Minecraft chat, so you guys can kind of ask wherever. But yeah, definitely, I know a lot of stuff. You just gotta have a lot of experience. You know, tutorials, YouTube tutorials, best friend. I promise you, you'll find like a million replay mod tutorials. That is like they're all out there. There's a lot out there. But yeah, everyone has questions. In your opinion, what is the best camera angle for dialogue? So, what I like doing is I like doing close-ups. I do, like close-ups on the face, you know, eye level. I think, you know, that's a good one. I also like swapping between like a big wide angle so you can see both your subject. Definitely, I love just using a variety, because like I said earlier, I've had to start using Minimator just to try to get more emotion in there and like make it not seem as boring. You know, you want to try to get as many different angles of dialogue as possible.
So I'm gonna go to the new to voice acting. So first thing I'll say, there's a panel on voice acting tomorrow to check out, but from our experience, honestly, it comes to try and do some more dramatic scenes. Because having to really get down deep into those emotions really help you feel natural in the scene. Part of what we do is we do our voice acting in private calls, so it's very personal, and so we make sure that the people have the ability to either like shout or to have that like really good emotional connection. So just practice your different kinds of voices. So like your sad voice, your angry voice, those kind of things. So practice those emotions in your voice.
For the question of Minimator, what's a good way to practice making expressions? For the specific video I actually used it in, I did very like animated, like big arm movements, and like people are like heads are like spinning, and there's like just a lot of physical, you know, if you see like a silent film, that is a really good example. Like how people are just very expressive with body language. That's how I kind of try to go at it. A lot with arms is probably like the best way. I also want to answer some of these smaller questions here. How many years of experience I have? I have 4 years. I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. Thank you for the comment on my cinematography. Hardest shot I've ever had to film.
I have 2 answers for this.
Oh, there's been a lot.
One of my favorites to talk about is actually, so in one of the earlier scenes, there is a shot that we had to do where it was a big fight happening, and so there needs to be a situation where a bow shot goes through a crowd of PvPers and hits somebody and kills them. So originally we filmed this shot, and we realized we were gonna have to get like a perfect bow shot. So we thought, God, we're gonna have to do this so many times. We're gonna have to keep reshooting this. But what happened is we ended up getting the perfect angle, just shot right through, got it first try. That was a really fun one, a really hard one, which we thought was gonna be super hard, but we ended up getting it first try. And I would say the hardest, but my favorite, would have to be the shot that happens at the end of Day episode 3 in the credits. It was at 4 a.m. when it was created, and it was one of my favorite shots Gabriel's ever done because it required such specific tilting and keyframing. It's a great shot. I recommend checking it out. It gives me chills every time. What about you? What are your hardest shots?
Hardest shot is when we had to do parkour for a scene. I had to get one of my friends to beam me because I couldn't do parkour. Parkour is very difficult. So yeah, that's it. I saw another good question here. I know in animation they use storyboards while choosing shots. Have you ever used a storyboard in your process? And regardless
Yes.
if you have or not, could they be useful in Minecraft filming? I hate storyboards. Now, that's a personal preference. I think storyboards can be great, a great use. I think storyboards are when you're working with a lot of people and there's a lot of people involved, everyone needs to know kind of what your idea is. For me, I like hogging all the work. So I try to avoid it as much as possible. I hate drawing. I think it's a very time consuming. So I
That's
try to
why
kind
I
of
do it.
yeah, there's like very specific shots. Like, okay, I want this. I don't know what you mean. So then Sparrow has to draw it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Because Sparrow's better at drawing. I'll draw a stick figure. I'm like, look, he's running across the screen.
Yeah, so a lot of in our big series script, there's a lot of these shots that I knew had to be part of the scene. And so I just pulled up Google Drawing. I made really simple shapes to be like, this is where the camera should be. Like, you don't have to have super specific storyboards, but if you want like a specific shot, like there's a shot in the first episode where I was like, this has to happen. And I planned it out. We planned this out like 5 months in advance. I knew this shot has to happen, and when it came to life, I was so unbelievably happy because the storyboard of the camera shot. So we don't use them that often, but for those very specific scenes where I'm like, this is how it has to happen, I make a little storyboard in our scripts.
I say a question here for what shade would be best for story related films. Obviously it comes to preference. I think cilders are the best for cinematic. If you want that really intense lighting and coloring, that's a very good option. If not, I would say look at using complementary because that is very customizable. But it still kind of retains that Minecraft feeling while still having that nice shading.
Script writing. So honestly, I would say read them out loud. Because you'll get into a scene and realize the dialogue sounds super awkward. What oftentimes we even do is allow some of our voice actors to ad-lib some of the parts, change it up as they read. So Matt, who is he's one of our co-owners of our SMP, but he is great at doing improvised dialogue. He's great, he's funny, and so a lot of what we did is when we had to write scenes where he was talking, we actually left it blank and we let him write his own dialogue, because if you have someone who's really witty, let them take control of that character, because oftentimes you're gonna have some really hilarious scenes. But definitely read them out loud. Catch it when the voice actors are talking, so like, oh, that sounded a little awkward. But overall, just try and have a outline first of what you want your story or part of your scene to look like, then add dialogue, then review it, then shoot. So.
All right, one of our last questions probably, and one I actually really like. What made you get into filmmaking? So, there's a lot of aspects. For me, I've always wanted to be a YouTuber, Minecraft YouTuber specifically. I've always think Minecraft is kind of the perfect place to kind of do that. I think there's so much you can do, and that's when I discovered Replay Mod. Replay Mod it's an amazing film, and because of Replay Mod, I just started studying more films, because obviously I think everyone loves films, but there's a certain elements like, oh my gosh, I need to focus on that. Okay, how do I use this camera? Let me go watch like Indiana Jones, or like there's a lot of short films. I know some of my favorite are like Whiplash and La La Land more recently. A lot of films very much inspire me to do this, and I definitely want to bring this overall kind of new something that's never really been seen in Minecraft. I mean, Replay Mod is getting more popular, but I think kind of what we're trying to accomplish here is just, it's very cool and it's very unique. I kind of hope that what we're talking about here can kind of inspire some of you to kind of try it for yourself, see how you like it. I think there are, there's really much a lot to do with it. And there's a lot to learn. Trust me, even though I've been doing this for 4 years, I'm still learning stuff. Like, I've just like started recently like using the FOV as a zoom, or like using Minimator to kind of get more expression, or using color grading. That was very, very recent. There's a lot of aspects when it comes to filmmaking, and just doing this will not only, kind of improve your skills on replay mod, but if you ever want to go out in the field and actually do this some stuff in real life, it very much helps with that, and it kind of helps build up that skill.
The eye, if you will. And I think that's time for us.
Unless we have a time for another question.
Time, so we will
All right,
call it there. But thank you guys. That was really interesting. Like, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. As they said, guys, they've got some like social media you can check out if you want to see more. To finish out the night, we will have George coming in to say his farewells to close out the night. So we will see you guys in a bit.